Major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has emphasized that Algeria attaches crucial importance to the development of parliamentary diplomacy with Central American states, noting that this rapprochement will allow for the exchange of expertise in the legislative field. A memorandum of understanding has been signed in Algiers between the Algerian Sonaram Group and the Malaysian Lion Group aimed at strengthening cooperation between the two countries in the fields of mining exploration and exploitation and the steel industry. Missiles have been launched by Iran on several Israeli cities, causing casualties and damage on the fourth day of the conflict opposing the two sides. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asya Bakar. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has ordered that rigorous efforts be made to achieve good results in the 2025 harvest season and to ensure the adequate welcoming of the Algerian diaspora in the summer season. Mohammed Khatil has the details.
During a meeting of the Council of Ministers, President Tebboune said a meeting is to be held at the end of the harvest to make an assessment of the results made and the efforts made by farmers and by the sector's managers. Regarding the preparations for the summer season and arrangements taken for welcoming the Algerian diaspora, President Tebboune said necessary measures should be taken to ensure better care and provide useful services to the members of the Algerian community living abroad at airports and ports. Regarding the conditions and procedures for benefiting from the so-called Productive Family Program, he affirmed that the support and guidance are a duty owed to Algerian women who have been making sacrifices and working with their male counterparts side by side. The President of the Republic ordered that the program of the Productive Family be implemented as the best way to empower Algerian women within the framework of Algerian traditions and customs so that they can brilliantly position themselves on the political scene and in the country's economic development.
The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has received here in Algiers a delegation from the Central American Parliament led by Mr. Likona Reyes Adrian as part of the strengthening of parliamentary cooperation between Algeria and Latin American states. The details with Mohammed Khatil again.
A communique of the lower house of parliament said that during the meeting, Mr. Boughali welcomed the efforts made to strengthen ties and promote cooperation with Par la Seine. Mr. Boughali affirmed on the occasion that this cooperation will be beneficial for both parties, especially since Algeria plays an active role in several regional and international organizations at the African and Arab levels. He also emphasized that Algeria attaches a crucial importance to the development of parliamentary diplomacy with Central American states, noting that this rapprochement will allow for the exchange of expertise, particularly in the legislative field. Mr. Boughali further expressed the Assembly's willingness to coordinate and communicate with parliaments in the Arab world and the African continent, as well as with their counterparts in Latin America. For his part, the head of the Par la Seine delegation, Mr. Likona Reyes Adrian, expressed his sincere thanks to the Algerian Parliament Speaker for the hospitality and warm welcome, emphasizing that the meetings he had in Algeria were fruitful and important, affirming that he will work to bring Algeria's successful and unique experience, particularly in the area of youth empowerment, to his country. At the end of the meeting, the two parties emphasized the need to continue coordination and cooperation in the service of issues of peace, development, and complementarity between peoples. Earlier, the chairman of the Committee of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and the National Community Abroad at the National People's Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Khouan, co-chaired a working session with his counterpart, the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and Migration of the Central American Parliament, Par la Seine, Angels Martin Pineda Garcia. During the meeting, Mr. Khouan affirmed that the Par la Seine delegation's visit to Algeria constitutes a historic step in consolidating relations between the two parties, emphasizing the interest shown by the Assembly Speaker in promoting and strengthening these relations in various fields of endeavor.
Still in Algeria, the Minister of Health, Mr. Abdelhak Saihi, has met with his Tunisian counterpart, Mr. Mustafa Farjani, in Tunis to explore ways to enhance bilateral cooperation in the health sector. Mr. Oucharfi has the details.
The meeting held on the sidelines of the first regional conference on One Health in the Middle East and North Africa region was aimed at addressing joint health challenges and align efforts to meet the aspirations of both nations. The two ministers agreed on the need to update the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the two countries to reflect the current health developments, aiming to improve health system performance and emergency response through more efficient cooperation. They also committed to working together in three key areas: developing the pharmaceutical industry, exchanging expertise to enhance healthcare services, and organizing twinning initiatives and scientific events to enhance professional capacity. Additionally, they discussed strengthening collaboration in combating drug addiction, focusing on prevention, treatment, and psychological support. Earlier, the Minister of Health, Abdelhaq Saihi, met the World Bank Country Director for the Maghreb and Malta, Mr. Ahmadou Mustafa, with whom he exchanged views on how to improve the public health system. They emphasized the need to improve health infrastructure, enhance food security, and protect environmental resources to address complex regional health and environmental challenges. Both parties called for a unified regional framework to ensure health security and promote fair, sustainable healthcare systems. They also agreed to boost bilateral cooperation and implement the One Health approach through better coordination, preventive policies, and rapid response systems.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the Memorandum of Understanding has been signed in Algiers between the Algerian Sonaram Group and the Malaysian Lion Group, aimed at strengthening cooperation between the two countries in the fields of mining exploration and exploitation of the steel industry. More with Mohammed Khatel.
A press release of the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies indicated that the signing ceremony took place at the ministry's headquarters under the supervision of the Secretary of State to the Minister of Energy in charge of mines, Ms. Karima Taffer, and the Chairman and CEO of Sonaram Group, Mr. Bilqasim Sultani. The MOU is part of the implementation of Sonaram Group's strategy aimed at strengthening its partnerships with pioneering companies in the mining sector. Under the MOU, the two parties agreed to explore opportunities for cooperation in the fields of mining, exploration and development, particularly gold, copper, manganese, and other minerals, in addition to promoting joint investments, exchanging expertise and skills training. The areas of cooperation also include the development of mining sites to be identified at a later date, as well as the processing of mineral resources, the statement added, emphasizing the agreement reached by both parties on the identification of priority projects and the establishment of technical, financial, and legal frameworks that will govern their cooperation. Last year, a delegation from the Malaysian Lion Group was received by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. It was also received by the Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, and by the CEO of Sonaram Group. So the meetings were devoted to examining prospects for future cooperation between the two parties in the mining sector. The Malaysian Lion Group is active in several Asian countries where it has invested in tire manufacturing and mass distribution and is interested in investing in Algeria.
And now a major workshop focusing on Algeria's national legal framework for nuclear activities is taking place here in Algiers. And the details with Mr. Sharfi.
The three-day event, organized by the National Authority of Nuclear Safety and Security, ANSSN, in collaboration with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, is the first of the kind to take place in Algeria. The workshop, gathering national stakeholders and international experts to discuss the emerging field of nuclear law, focuses on nuclear legal framework, including civil liability, regulatory oversight, licensing, inspection, and safeguards, aiming to align stakeholders on legal standards as civilian nuclear applications grow in areas like medicine and pharmaceuticals. In his opening speech, the head of the National Authority for Nuclear Safety and Security, Rashdi Minnadi, emphasized the need to regulate such a technological shift, calling it true paradigm change. He affirmed that the workshop highlights Algeria's commitment to managing nuclear activities responsibly with a legal framework aligned with international standards and global best practices.
The purpose of this workshop is to demonstrate that Algeria is taking its activities very seriously, in a highly responsible manner, and that the national legal system is in harmony with the international legal system and with major international norms and standards for the management of nuclear activities. The point is to say that our legal system has been designed in such a way that it meets the requirements imposed for conducting nuclear activities while also incorporating sharing good practices and the best global practices in the field.
The first national workshop on nuclear law aims to build a shared legal understanding among all stakeholders and marks a key step in Algeria's efforts to promote safe and peaceful nuclear use and support its growing role in development and public health.
And to the Middle East now. In Palestine, dozens of Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli occupying forces, including children, in renewed assaults by land, air and sea. Medical sources confirm the killing of 2 Palestinian fishermen and the disappearance of a third after Israeli naval forces opened fire on their boat off the coast of Gaza City. In southern Gaza, 3 Palestinians were killed and at least 20 others injured while waiting for humanitarian aid near Al-Alam area west of Rafah, where Israeli forces have previously targeted civilians gathering for food assistance. Further north, 10 civilians were wounded as Israeli forces opened fire on crowds waiting for aid distribution west of Beit Lahia amid ongoing heavy shelling of the area's northwestern outskirts. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and now missiles have been launched by Iran on several Israeli cities, causing casualties and damage on the 4th day of the conflict, opposing the 2 countries. A spokesman for the Iranian armed forces said Iran had pledged to provide, as he put it, a devastating response to the Israeli attacks launched for 4 days now against its territory. The senior army officer was quoted by the state television as saying that the scale of the response, which will be more accurate and efficient, will include all the occupied parties. According to the Iranian Health Ministry, at least 224 people, including Syrian military commanders and prominent scientists, have been killed in the spate of airstrikes launched by the Israeli army. Meanwhile, the Israeli army pursued its large-scale attacks on Iranian military sites and nuclear and civilian facilities. In this connection, Iranian media affirmed that a hospital was hit by Israeli strikes in the country's western part, causing considerable damage. The attack was denounced by Tehran as a war crime. Meanwhile, the Israeli attacks were described by the Iranian authorities as a blatant violation of UN charters and an obvious act of aggression against the country's territorial integrity and sovereignty. In this connection, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian called for the unity of Iranians to face up to the enemy and to its criminal aggression. This came as the EU foreign ministers today held a special meeting via video conference to examine the latest developments in the region. Earlier, the Russian and Turkish presidents called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and expressed their deep concern at the continued escalation between the 2 countries. In a communique issued today, the Russian presidency advocated a settlement of disputes, including those related to the Iranian nuclear program, only through diplomatic means. The Turkish presidency accused the Israeli government of endangering the security of the whole region, underlining that the Israeli illegal attitude constituted a clear threat for the whole international system. To Sudan now. The Sudanese armed forces have repelled an attack by the Rapid Support Forces on Al-Fashir, the capital of Sudan's North Darfur state, while local authorities reported that 5 displaced civilians were killed in an Asaraf attack on a shelter for displaced people. The armed forces, along with their reinforcements, successfully repelled the desperate rebel militia assault on Al-Fashir early Sunday. The Sudanese army destroyed most of the attacking force, inflicting heavy losses, including the destruction of armed vehicles, dozens of deaths, and many more wounded. Meanwhile, North Darfur State Governor announced that 35 displaced civilians were killed or injured following the shelling of a shelter in Al-Fashir by the RSF. The governor said the RSF shelled a shelter for displaced people located at the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, killing 5 people and injuring 30 others. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and still in Africa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, at least 318 people have been killed by militiamen in the eastern part of the country. National Assembly President said the tragedy occurred in Moba territory without specifying the identity of the militiaman responsible for the attack. The security situation in eastern DRC remains extremely unstable. And still in DRC, at least 29 people have been killed following recent heavy rains in the capital, Kinshasa. The torrential rain on Sunday caused extensive damage in several neighborhoods of the capital, paralyzing much of the infrastructure. Major roads were also flooded. Kinshasa governor told media that evacuation and temporary relocation operations had been launched, urging residents to take precautionary measures. According to local media reports citing the DRC's meteorological services, although the country is currently in its dry season, the rainfall recorded 2 days ago reached an exceptional 90 millimeters, a record not seen even during the recent rainy season. Meteorologists predict further heavy rains in the coming days, raising fears of further damage in this city of 17 million. The rainy season in the DRC generally runs from November to May. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and the UN announced a drastic reduction in aid this year to cope with the worst financial cuts ever to hit the humanitarian sector, particularly the abrupt withdrawal of the United States, which will leave tens of millions of people in dire straits. The UN announced on Monday a drastic revision of its global humanitarian aid plan for this year due to the worst financial cuts ever to hit the humanitarian sector. The UN Humanitarian Aid Coordination Agency, OCHA, said the new $29 billion plan compared to $44 billion the UN had previously requested by 2025 must prioritize aid for 114 million people. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and that's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to our economic program compiled and presented by Said Bouazi.
Hello and welcome to our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. First in the news, Industry Minister Sifi Gharieb has received a high-level delegation from Automobile New Generation comprising representatives from Omoda Jayco, a company specializing in car manufacturing and part of the parent company Chery, as well as the Algerian partner represented by the Iris Group to discuss the project to manufacture tourist vehicles in Algeria, according to a statement from the ministry. This project aims to develop the automotive industry in Algeria by strengthening domestic manufacturing and increasing local integration rates for tourist vehicles and spare parts, the same source said, adding that during the meeting the delegation presented a detailed presentation on the components of the project, which includes the creation of an integrated vehicle manufacturing plant, and reviewed a roadmap outlining the phases of the project implementation with an emphasis on technical, regulatory and investment aspects that will ensure its success and sustainability. According to the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, in its latest report on debt in Africa, Algeria stands out in 2025 for its healthy financial position, thanks to a rigorous debt management policy and solid import coverage in a continental context marked by a general deterioration in external balances. While many African countries are still struggling to get their debt back on track, Algeria's low debt-to-export ratio, a crucial indicator of external debt sustainability, illustrates a prudent fiscal policy combined with strong export revenues, according to the report State of the Debt Burden in Africa and the Caribbean, published on the Afreximbank website. The ambassador of the European Union to Algiers, Diego Melabo Pascua, has called in Algiers for the best possible use to be made of the available resources and potential of the European Union and Algeria to strengthen trade relations between the two parties. In a statement to the press on the sidelines of a meeting organized by the Algerian Trade and Social Investment Organization, OACIS, with the participation of Algerian and Spanish businessmen and representatives of the the Barcelona Port Authority, the EU ambassador said that this meeting testifies to the solidity of trade relations between Algeria and Europe, highlighting the existing potential on both shores of the Mediterranean, notably the logistics facilities of the Port of Barcelona, which were presented on this occasion. In more Algerian economic news, the CEO of the Sonelgaz Group, Mourad Adjel, has chaired a preparatory meeting with a technical team made up of experts in electricity production, transmission and distribution ahead of their visit to Syria. The aim of the visit was to assess the electricity supply situation on the ground and draw up a detailed report, including a roadmap for identifying serious electricity needs, according to a group press release. This initiative is part of the implementation of the directives issued by the country's high authorities and the instructions of the President of the Republic concerning support for Syria in the field of electricity. During the meeting, Mourad Adjel stressed the importance of this mission, which is considered to be a priority for the Algerian state, underlining the need for Sonelgaz to meet its official commitments as fully as possible. Algeria has acceded to the agreement on the creation of the Global Green Growth Institute GGGI, signed in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in June 2012, according to a presidential decree published in the official Gazette number 35. Based in Seoul, South Korea, this institute aims to promote the sustainable development of developing and emerging countries as well as the least developed countries through the dissemination of a new economic growth paradigm, namely green growth, poverty reduction, job creation and social inclusion, and by improving economic, environmental and social conditions in these countries through partnerships according to the text of the agreement. The Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohamed Arkab, has said during a plenary session of the Council of the Nation devoted to oral questions, chaired by Speaker Azzouz Nasri, that a number of petrochemical projects worth a total of $7 billion are currently underway. Their completion, scheduled for the 5-year period 2025-2029, will help to make greater use of hydrocarbon resources. These projects include the new Hassin Mashoud refinery with a capacity of 5 million tons a year due to come on stream at the end of 2027, the Naphtha steam cracking unit in Arzio, which will produce an additional 1.2 million tons of petrol from March 2027, and the fuel oil cracking unit in Sikda, which will produce 1.75 million tons of diesel and 250,000 tons of bitumen when it comes on stream in January 2029. And to wrap it up, the Algerian Pavilion at the World Expo in Osaka, Japan, Expo 2025, has highlighted the unusual experience of building the new Qasr of Tafilalt in the province of Gardaya, which combines urban planning, architecture and ecology. As part of the week dedicated to food and housing held from 5th to 16th June, the president of the Amidul Foundation, initiator of the project, Ahmed Nouh, gave a lecture on the Qasr of Tafilalt, in which he presented this Qasr as a unique humanist experience that combines architecture, urban planning and sustainable development with the preservation of ecology and a good living environment. And with this we come to the end of our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. Take care and bye-bye for now.